This podcast is distributed for general informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, accounting, or investment advice. The information, opinions, and views contained herein are our own and may be subject to change at any time without prior notice. We do not have any obligation to provide revised opinions in the event of changed circumstances. All investment strategies and investments involve risk of loss. Nothing contained in this website should be construed as investment advice. Any reference to an investment's past or potential performance is not and should not be construed as a recommendation or as a guarantee of any specific outcome or profit.
Now,
Sweet.
all right, we're live. Podcast number 2.
Podcast number 2. Figured that it would be a great opportunity to kind of get into the wheelhouse of what's hot right now, but also just the wheelhouse of what Nate really has a strong conviction or strong belief in this overall area, and he's got a lot of expertise in it as well. So today's episode is going to be primarily focused around BTC or crypto world, and since we've seen such great growth over the last week and a half, but in particular since November, the first part of November especially, such tremendous growth, and it's become, I don't know if it was possible to become more popular than what it was before, but it seems in the last 2 months it certainly has exponentially grown in popularity, of both in probably the holders, the people that are involved with it, but even the outside world of the traditional markets and people that are getting involved with it.
Well, you can see on the chart, I would say it really got popular once it kind of got real close to those all-time highs. The October timeframe, that's kind of where we're sitting at right here, right where that top white line is at 13.8. Obviously, once you broke through that, it just zoomed through. I mean, this is on a monthly chart, though, so you can look at 2 months. In 2 months, it doubled, a little over doubled.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. It ran hard. A lot of people predicted the same thing. Once it broke those all-time highs, there's nothing above it to really go, and so that's what it kind of did.
Yeah, and I think, kind of where I envision talking about BTC, there's going to be a lot of varying points of interest for differing people. And on my front, I think I'm always going to have some disbelief or just some sort of skepticism that's built into BTC as a whole. I have my own personal beliefs. I don't think it's garbage. I don't think that it's worthless. I don't think that people that invest in it are bad or whatever. I have some. I've got cryptos that I personally hold. It just doesn't make up a large majority of my holdings. And I know that might not be the case for, let's say, you. You might have a large case of your holdings that are based in crypto across a variety of differing coins that are out there. But I think for the large majority, based off of what I know about the general population or just how the crypto world works from my outsider's view in, BTC is kind of the flagship program, the flagship carrier, more or less, for the crypto world. And so that's, I think, kind of breaking down the simplistic view, the basic simple view, to more advanced charting type of mindset that you could probably go on and on for days and days about where you see it going from here. But I think from just the best, simplest terms, for dummies like me that aren't currently in it, if we were starting off a BTC episode, we would be looking into what is the best, easiest way to get in. Somebody that's not currently in BTC right now wants to get in BTC. What's the best, easiest way?
Well, I mean, that's actually a complicated question, to be honest with you. So I've talked to quite a few people who have asked that same question over the last couple months. And it comes down to a few different variables. One is, do you actually want to hold BTC and own the BTC itself? Or do you just want to have exposure to the price action? A lot of people just want to get the gains. A lot of people just want to, earn the percentage gains that Bitcoin they believe is going to bring to them over time. That's an easy one. If you want that, then you have two of the easiest ones that are out there. PayPal, number one easiest, especially if you have a PayPal account already. It's simple. You hit a couple things saying that, yes, you know that you can lose all your money if you buy Bitcoin. and then you buy it, and then you lose all your money. Just kidding.
That's how easy it is.
That's how easy it is. No, it really is easy. It took like, I think you just bought some on PayPal, did you not?
It was the simplest thing ever. Yeah, it's just a couple clicks and you get it. It's simple.
So PayPal, easy, number one. And then I would say Robinhood, because they've kind of made it really easy for investors overall to purchase anything. But neither one of those you actually own the Bitcoin. You don't own the cryptocurrency itself. It's on their site. They have to own it. They have to buy it and hold whatever amount is purchased through their app. And it's just they just show you how much you own in quotations, and then you're exposed to the price action, which is great. And you can trade it, you can hold it forever, whatever you want to do. You just can't send it to anybody. You can't use it to buy anything.
I see. So that would be the major difference between going on to another avenue to potentially have either a wallet or another exchange or something along those lines that's out there. The best, easiest way is to just get it, hold it, and you're committed to it. And so if I bought it on, or if I get it on PayPal, if I go to exchange it, I'm exchanging it for dollars right now, more or less. I can't transfer that in and out to other exchanges, or I might be able to in the future, just depending on what the overall future of those avenues are going to have.
Right.
But if somebody is just now listening to this podcast, doesn't currently own Bitcoin, wants to be exposed to it, best, easiest way to have, in air quotations, Bitcoin exposure would be through the PayPal avenue.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yep. And then from there, then you go into your other easier ways. Cash App. Cash App, you actually own the Bitcoin. I've never bought through Cash App, but I believe that you actually can own it and send it. And they don't take a whole lot to set up with them. Coinbase, you have to do your KYC, which is know your client. So you have to submit all your information, who you are, where you live, next of kin, I don't know.
All those things.
Sign off your next born son, all those things. But with those, you own the coins. So with the value that some people put out onto Bitcoin of why there is value is that it is a limited supply. There's only so much Bitcoin that's out there. So owning the actual coins themselves has some merit, has some value to it. But like I tell everybody, like there's more to it. Like there's a lot of you have to get a wallet. You have to know what your private keys are. You have to make sure you save your private keys and don't let other people have them, because then they can have access to. They can get into your wallet at any time if they have those. So there's security that comes with that. So what I tell people is, great. Get some exposure via PayPal or Robinhood where you don't have to worry about your private keys or anything along those lines. Or go through the process of the KYC too in depth, especially with PayPal. Then, down the road, once you feel like you're more comfortable with the actual wallet side of it, then go on to Coinbase, and you could buy it through Coinbase. You could leave it on Coinbase, or you can take it off and put it in your own wallet. You can put it into a hard wallet. Those are a lot of different. Those can go down all different paths, and that could take days
to explain.
But you can do your own research. If you're looking to, make some money on investing, you're probably smart enough to figure out how you can, do all that stuff. So
then I guess it comes down to, if this is an investment, what is the investable mindset behind BTC? And this is where, you could be a little bit I could be a little bit skeptic or critical of it, but it's also something where you got to have some conviction when you're making an investment. And certainly if I was to say, I'm going to buy one Bitcoin today, well, Bitcoin price right now, plus it's 31,000.
31,332 and 10 cents.
It takes quite a bit to have to buy one Bitcoin. A lot more now than what it did back in November, which was a lot more back than even earlier this year. You could draw the lines all the way back to, it takes a lot to buy into one Bitcoin. So if you're making the investment right now, you have to answer that question for yourself. Why is it investable, or what is the investment, or what is Bitcoin? Is there anybody out there that doesn't know what Bitcoin is currently?
Or understand? There's lots of people that don't know what Bitcoin is, or they think they know. Like we're still early. Look at the chart here. This is the Google searches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how many people knew about Bitcoin after the last big run in 2017-18, right? You could
100
talk,
people.
you could talk to 100 people, and who really knew it, maybe two,
Yeah.
maybe one.
That understand exactly how it works or what
Just even really what it is. Like, I mean, they might know, like, oh yeah, that's that criminal money, right? And that's so. If you look at the amount of this is Google searches, so this kind of gives you the trends of how many people are looking at it. We fell down and dropped and went to the bear market, and we've ran up. We're all-time highs now, but you can see the Google trends. They're just a quarter of the way where they were at before.
That certainly would point strong if it was a continuation of, or if the charts repeated similar to like what they did in the past, go up to the 2017, 2018 marks that are marking on there. We still got a ways to run then with overall popularity in your mind, right?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing now is institutional buying. You brought up the point of price, which is, I think, a legitimate concern of a lot of people that come in and says, "Oh, I can't afford $31,000 for a Bitcoin," not understanding that you can buy $10 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and you can own it. It's still because there's portions. They call them satoshis. They're basically broken down into whatever the number is. I can't remember. I think there's 9 places.
Yeah, so. It extends quite far. I mean, that's how they're able to do it on PayPal. You own fractional ownership, basically, of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, and so when you look at the institutions, were never really going to get in the early time frame when Bitcoin price was so low, because if they were to come in and buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin and it was at $4,000, they're going to move the market.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So now with the price of where it's at now, they still can move it a lot.
Yeah.
It's only at 31,000 for them. That's like, okay, well, let's buy $100 million worth. And they can, every time there's a little 10% dip, they keep buying. Or they even care. They're just every week buying, 20 million, 15 million, whatever it is. And that's going to continue. What I think is continuing this rise. I don't think when you look at Google Trends, this is not your institutions.
No.
These are your everyday Joe Schmo, like, oh, what's Bitcoin? So I don't think you don't even have the retail investor that's coming in yet. I think you're looking at the institutions that are coming in, and they're the ones that are buying all this Bitcoin up. I mean, I can't remember what it was. GBTC today, they had a client, and I think they bought, I don't know, I think 100 and some odd million through GBTC. Mm-hmm. That they've been doing it through GBTC. That's one client.
Yeah,
they're buying a truckload.
Yeah,
and that's just one.
There certainly is a lot of demand. It seems out there. That's what's kind of driving the price up currently. And I guess it's kind of moving in that mindset of from the individual investor more to the institutional investor. Being able to afford this type of pricing, the individual investor might not be looking at 31,000 as, oh, I need to build up my portfolio and add, 5 or 10 Bitcoin. Adding 5 or 10 Bitcoin right now, is that really worth something? Right now, I don't know. That really eats into the overall available capital. But you look for these institutions that have, like you say, truckloads of money that are able to throw into it. It makes it something that keeps on moving that price upward. So those early adopters, those people that held on, even those people that bought at the old high back in 2017, 2018, where they look like fools 3 or 4 months later, they're looking like geniuses right now. If you had the opportunity to buy it at 18,000 versus the current price, you would.
Yeah, I wish there was a metric to show how many people held at that point in time. And I think you can look at wallets.
Yeah,
you could probably go to a dive into that and see how many wallets were bought in that same time frame and then just didn't move.
Yeah,
moving it meaning like you sent it to an exchange to sell it. So you can kind of get some idea that way. Because if those guys held at that point in time, they've got some strong ass hands.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't get shaken out because that dropped 80+%, 82%. Yeah, I think we're early. I think we're early in the sense that it's different now. I know that's a whole cliche. Oh, it's different now. It's different now. I feel like it is different. I feel like this is we didn't have the institutions before that were buying, that was cranking this price up the way it is. And when I say different, I mean we're going to have a similar bull run, in my opinion, as we had in the past. But it's going to be due to the institutional investors. How many of your, retail investors are going to buy Bitcoin? I think there's still a lot. Just over the New Year's, I talked with some people that were looking at, getting into Bitcoin because they want to invest in it. They know that they want to be exposed to it. So they're there.
They're certainly there. I mean, people don't want some exposure in some way, shape, or form. It's not, and that's going to continue to go up and away. It's just a matter of how they're going to get or how much they're going to get as far as the overall exposure. Are they going to expose 5% of their overall holdings, 1%, 10%? I highly doubt that you're going to see individual investors get up to 50 to 100% of their holdings if they aren't currently involved with it. People that are that far invested into it are already invested into it. If they already have 50 to 100% or 50 to 60 to 70% of their overall holdings are currently in BTC right now, they're not going to be new to it, I don't feel, moving forward.
Let me ask you a question, because obviously I got into this before you did, and I dove deep, down the rabbit hole. It took you a while. I bought some Bitcoin for you. And you purchased some Ethereum Classic way back in the day in the first bull run, and I think some XRP. And you sold your XRP, though, right?
Yep. I got into XRP initially, and then it went up a bit, sold it, and then I reinvested into Ethereum Classic. BTC.
So for you, and I'm going to throw some of your buys out here just so we can kind of get some context, because I think you're the retail investor, right? You're the guy that you have more knowledge than probably the majority of people out there, but still, why did you buy later on? Like just recently, you bought some GDLC, some BitW, and some GBTC.
Yeah, I did not purchase any GBTC.
Oh, you didn't go? Okay.
I got GDLC and BitW.
So what was your thinking and mindset behind that?
More or less, it's the ease of being able to purchase on the traditional side as opposed to going through PayPal or going through Wallet or Coinbase or anything else along those lines.
Right.
I think you knew this, that I had ETC that was sitting on the sidelines in a hard wallet that I had to find my keys and everything like that to try and get. It was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
I had a computer that had crashed with the hard drive on it, and then I was like, well, I'm pretty certain I printed that off, and I did, and I had taken a picture of it and all this other type of stuff. So trying to protect that overall wallet of with the keys that were associated with it. So it took a lot of steps to get to that point, and then just get it onto Coinbase was the easiest mode for me. Now, I did that initial purchase of XRP and ETC back in, I want to say around 2018, in the first part of 2018 or something along those lines, because that's when we were initially kind of looking at it. And for me, there was the deep-rooted skepticism, but everybody feels like a genius when they go up 100%. Like, oh, I can pick nothing but winners. When you first venture into something, you go up 100% within a short time frame. So with XRP, I was able to go up over 100% in a short time frame. And then I took those and reinvested into ETC, thinking that, okay, this is one that's similar to BTC in the fact that it has a set amount of available coins out there. So it creates that scarcity. At that point in time, I've always been a little bit critical of the fact that I don't see the mass adoption of what I had envisioned these coins to be used for. So as a medium for trade or a medium for purchase or something else along those lines, where you can build that value long term in this tradable coin. Why would you... what was the classic case of somebody buying a pizza from Domino's back in the early adoption for like 100 Bitcoin, and now that'd be worth, just an unbelievable amount.
They actually have a day. It's Bitcoin Pizza Day.
Yeah. So this is my idiot view of things of not knowing the, and that's just where it is. If I'm a casual investor, if I'm a casual involved person in the overall markets, I don't know. Oh, hey, there's Bitcoin Pizza Day, or there's all these other holidays that are out there. There's a lot of knowledge that at the same time that we were both looking at it, you really did dive deep into it. And as a part of that, developed your charting skills and all those other things that are related to it. But a lot of my skepticism has remained is that I don't personally feel like it was ever going to be a mode of exchange. So I'm going to use Bitcoin, or I'm going to use Ethereum Classic, or I'm going to use whatever for buying goods or buying services if it's an investable grade product. And investable grade product being something that um, institutions are going to want to utilize, but will also have the volatility to grow in value in a short time frame.
Right.
And I think that's been the key for it to maintain its investable grade right now. For me personally, looking at it, is that I don't see it becoming that exchange for products, goods, services, as cash would be, as a dollar would be. I see it more as an investable grade product based off of the scarcity of the resource, more or less.
Right. I mean, how many people use gold as a trade resource, right?
Anymore? None.
Yeah. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
here and there that, you have, jewelry and, I mean, I'm sure there's other random things that are out there. So, and, Bitcoin gets used very rarely as well for buying and selling things as well. I agree with you. I think right now, and that's why the institutions are buying. They're not buying to use it to go buy a Lamborghini.
No.
They're buying it because they see that there's going to be either a hedge against the dollar, or it's going to be the digital gold. It's whatever it's going to do. It's going to outperform other things that they have in their portfolio, and so they want to be, have some exposure to that. And we're just at the tip.
But and just at the base of the hill, more or less, is where we could be. Is that where we're going to be going long term? I don't know. I would be a little bit skeptical. Still am skeptical on where it's going to be going. I think with everything, you have to have a little bit of skepticism to guard yourself from overcommitment. And with any type of investment, you have to evaluate why you're holding it. Why do you continue to hold it, or why do you drop it? Do you believe or don't believe in the product anymore, or do you not believe in the service? Or if you don't believe in in this case, the digital currency or the cryptocurrency as a long-term means of capital gain, growing your overall base of holdings, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, that's with anything, right?
It is. You got to really look at what your goals are, what you're looking to, and what you believe. And if you believe, in your heart that, hey, it's going to run up to 500,000, one Bitcoin's going to be worth 500,000 in a short-term time frame. That's a belief that you should be, that you bank and put a majority of your holdings into. Because if you look at the current levels being around 31, okay, that's a significant amount of growth. And certainly Bitcoin has shown us since the inception, back in 2010, that it has the capacity to grow in value, or at least in comparison to the dollar, grow in value quite significantly over that time frame. Annualized growth, the return, just holding on to it for that time frame. Are people disciplined enough to hold on to it for that time frame? I highly doubt it. Are people going to continually be disciplined enough to hold it, to see it through to whatever it could be?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people have the same mindset that you were in the beginning of, where's the value come from? And, when I do talk to people that ask me about it, that's kind of their first question. Like, well, what does it do? Or why? What is it? Why? It's a cryptocurrency, and then they might have some antics that they come in with, that they've heard on the news or something along those lines. But that's the first hurdle for people to get over. Once they get over that and they understand that there is a growing value, or if they believe that is a value, because some people still don't believe that there is value, even in the term of hedging against the dollar or digital gold or anything like that. So, once they get past that, then it's a matter of, how are they going to allocate it and how long, right?
Yeah. So. It's always time's always what the investor looks at. What's my time frame that I'm going to be holding whatever it is that I've selected? Is it something that you have a 2-year horizon, a 5-year horizon? Is there a horizon that you place upon something that would grow potentially at this much? I can't answer that for each individual investor. I know for myself, it's something that just depends on the day. It depends on the overall feeling of what I think the markets are going to do. For somebody such as yourself, you're looking at more at the charts. But when somebody does ask you, hey, what is the value in this? You point to specific things. Their first questions to you are like, what's the value? How does it have any value beyond a
Right. So
zeros and ones that's
Yeah.
on a computer that you just can't really put a place value on?
And I mean, when I'm talking to regular people, it's more of I talk about the scarcity. One, it's, there's only a certain amount out there. So, you have the scarcity of it. And then I jump right into the fact that it is increased in value year over year outside of your bear markets that are there. But if you look since its inception, it does increase in value. The difficulty that it takes for miners to, mine Bitcoin, that increases every, 4 years.
Yeah.
And so intrinsically, that's going to create a value for it as well. And then we go into, you can go into a lot of the holders itself, like how many people are holding it. And then now the fact that we have the institutions coming in because they feel that there is a value to the cryptocurrency itself. I mean, right now that's what it is. Can it change? Yeah, for sure. I think there's so many different other cryptocurrencies that are out there that are doing some pretty cool things that Bitcoin's going to always be there. Just because it's the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to there'll be a cryptocurrency that is used, for exchanging, money at some point in time. Is it going to be the United States government coin? I don't know. Is it going to be DM coin?
I think that's probably the leader in the clubhouse in my mind, but
Or, a conglomerate of a few different ones.
Yeah.
There's definitely going to be some out there, but I don't think that's going to be a Bitcoin. The nice thing is, if you ever want to trade that's with that interoperability of the cryptocurrency side, it's a lot easier than it is to go exchange a bar of gold. And I think that right there creates value for it as well down the road of exchanging that value. Because I can hold gold all day long as it's legal and it's been stamped and all this kind of stuff. And then where do I go sell it? I have no clue. I mean, sure, there's people out there that do. And they got a big backpack when they walk down to that bank.
yeah. But if you were like a miner or somebody that was out panning for gold, taking your actual physical nugget down to the local gold melting place, I mean, I couldn't even point you in the right direction if that was the case.
I have a neighbor actually. He owns it's the gold place down off of the highway. You see the sign, the big old building.
Yep.
He just lives behind me up here. I need to talk to him about it. He probably would have a whole lot of insight on that. It'd be good to know. I should actually.
Well, and for somebody like that, you're looking at they've built up the value in their mind. That's what they're passionate about as far as where they probably allocate a majority of their holdings is along the lines.
I would be curious to see.
Yeah, that would be curious because if you are in the business and you know what the overall continued value is of a physical piece of gold, does that have more? Do they believe in it more than say a stock or real estate or in this case in the cryptocurrency? And certainly you can point to the exponential growth that crypto has done, and in particular what Bitcoin has done since its launch in 2010. It's been unbelievable. It's meteoric. It's just but building that value or trying to explain to people that store value or trying to explain to them how the application or use application is, it is still something that in my mind is hard to explain. What's the store value or what's the and it's built upon the scarcity of the overall resource, the current pricing of the resource that is out there. But in the grand scheme of things, it's tough to say overall, well, we sold 100 units of Bitcoin today or 1,000 units of Bitcoin today, or, how does that translate to a profit margin, or how does it translate down? You could point to iPhone sales, or if I was looking at Apple, or if you looked at Amazon, year over year, the overall growth of revenue and what their profitability margin is and all those other things. You can look at that with tangible stocks, but with Bitcoin, it's something that's unique and different in the scheme that there isn't a...
I think you can look at some stuff though.
That's what I'm looking for. Like, what is the stuff you could look at beyond, like, because with gold, you have a physical piece of gold that you can hold, and there's only a certain amount of circulating supply. With cash, if I held a dollar bill right now, that doesn't have any value based on the fact that you could just run the printers. It's just a guarantee.
Printer goes burr.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, I mean, there's other things that we can look at, and to see, there's transaction value, there's net value transactions, there's wallets themselves, like how long have they been held, and they'll show. Hey, I was just looking at a couple today. I need to find it again, but when you look at some of the wallets that have been getting filled up, the top wallets, right, and they've been only holding them for 3 months, right? So there's some big buyers that are in there. A lot of them are exchanges, those big wallets, but you can see, do they get moved? Do they not get moved? Let's see. There's a couple different things on here.
Well, and I think I've seen recently, especially over the weekend, I think I saw something like 35,000 Bitcoins were moved from a hard wallet into an actual, I want to say it was Binance or Coinbase or something like that, but you'd probably know more about that than me.
This is a great one for you. So stock to flow, ratio of Bitcoins in circulation relative to the amount of Bitcoins annually mined, right? So in this relationship with price. So this one, like I just read it, so it's basically just kind of giving you that correlation between those. So, and the little red line here is just it's the stock to flow 365-day average of where it flows, and you can see it. It's going to follow it in that general direction where it has. Doesn't mean it has to.
Yeah.
And your heat map and the cruise up here. So obviously, if it follows that same trajectory, by 2022, if it goes above like it did before, I mean, that's over 100,000, 2, 3, 400,000. That's going to correlate with some of my other charts that I have up there as well.
Yeah,
that'd be quite the jump for 1 year. That'd be a good, bold prediction.
Yeah, it would be bold. I think you're looking at what 100,000 would be a 3x almost on where it's at, over 3x on where it's at right now.
Yeah,
there aren't too many that you could point to as far as if I were to look at the stocks, or if I were just looking at any of the indexes, that I would be able to say, hey, it's going to go up 3x from the current point. If it went up 3x right from the current point right now on any of the indexes, we'd be dancing in the streets in a year, a year time frame. Those types of movements generally don't happen on the stock side, but like you said, there's the value that's built into Bitcoin right now isn't necessarily that tangible thing. It's in the tradable asset that it is, and so you're looking at the tradable asset currently being on what'd you say it was net some type of transactional overall interactions.
Your TX, TX transactions. Is that what you're talking about?
You just had mentioned it a little bit ago, and then I saw a fancy chart, so I got distracted by it.
Are you talking about the stock to flow? This one?
No. It was before stock to flow. We were curious. I was curious, or talking about when you're going to justify to somebody that's not currently in. The Bitcoin, and you say, well, okay, there's not any value in as far as like the tangible gold, physical gold, nothing to point to as far as like, hey, they sold 500 iPhones, or Amazon's growth has happened on this, and you said, well, there's other things that we can point to that would help drive that force, and beyond looking at the potential of what Bitcoin could do, because it could go up or it could go down just like anything else, but without having any of those metrics that you can point to as far as like earnings dates or growth year over year or anything along those lines. What do you point to as far as for your justification to somebody that's coming into it or looking to come into?
Well, let's look at so one of the big ones I like to look at is again the holders of it. So how many of your wallets? So I didn't have that one pulled up here, but I'll see if I can find it.
And so that builds the value, because the people that are holding it are the ones that are not necessarily selling it. So it's creating more of the scarcity of the Bitcoins that are out there in circulating supply. Correct? Is that what you're?
You say that again.
So if you have the wallets that are out there and the holders that are out there that have the wallets, the fact that they continue to hold it builds the scarcity of the supply of available Bitcoin
Right.
that are out there
Right.
to sell.
Right.
And so that's going to continually drive up the price in your mind as far as from where we're currently at moving forward.
Especially with these institutions coming in, because these institutions aren't buying to sell it for a 30% gain in 2 months, right? They're not buying and selling it. They're buying it and they're holding it. They're putting it into their into their portfolio. I mean, you even have companies that are talking about putting a portion of their their cash that they have on hand into
Tesla. Yeah. Well,
Tesla's the big one. I doubt there's. I mean, come on. He talks big, but does he really do anything? That would be kind of crazy if he did. I think I was having a conversation with somebody about it, and they were an institutional guy, and he's like, yeah, you're not going to see them do that because they don't have any cash. They're all their cash. They're in a growth phase. And then I pulled up the fact. I'm like, well, they have like $130 million in cash, or it was more than that. I think it was 1.3 billion or something. I don't know. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was more than I have in my pocket.
More than me, yeah.
And I said, well, even if they put 1% of that in, that's a giant buy. So, there's that. They have the cash. All these companies do. So if they're holding the cash, why would you hold dollars if it's going to devalue all the time, right? So they're going to look at the same type of thing to be able to put their money into.
Yeah.
So what I got pulled up here, these are your wallets, right? These are the top 100 Bitcoin wallets, and you can see first in, last in. Basically, is it moving? Is it not moving? And so you can look at, I mean,
minimal out, minimal in.
so this is a $2 billion wallet.
Yeah,
right?
or even the top guy with or girl.
So this
4
is
billion.
Huobi. This is a cold wallet. So Huobi is a exchange. So,
Okay.
So they're going to have a large holding. Same with this one's Bitfinex. This one's Binance, Coinbase, Bittrex. So you're going to see a lot of those that are on here.
And there'll continue to be more of those institutional type of places that continue to occupy those.
Right. And so you can look at these and you can see, okay, is there new ones? And then you can see the old ones, that have been holding stuff forever, right? And that haven't moved ever. So,
Yeah.
So and that comes with the scarcity, right? So you want to see it's scarce, great. Well, is it moving though too? So if people are just going to hold it, then it's even more scarce at that point in time. And how long are they going to hold it for? And that's when you start to build, this FOMO that could potentially come in, and people get a little bit like, ooh, I better get in on this.
Yeah.
So.
Is that kind of what we're seeing right now on the institutional side? Is this more of an arms race to kind of get in right now?
I don't
or
think
is
so.
it is the FOMO for the people that have been in Bitcoin for the longest amount of time? Is the mindset it's going to go down right now?
I think this is no. I think the people that have been in Bitcoin for a while are like, this is the beginning.
So the circulating supply or the circulating trades that have gone down, in theory, have gone down from the start of 2020 till now. So let's just say we've been trading, everybody's trading, and everybody's upset about the current price, and so they're trading, and instead of 76 or 100 coins that are out there, now we only are trading 70 consistently on a daily basis.
Right.
Is it dropped by 30%? Has it dropped by 20% because more and more people are looking to buy and hold in the modern outlook for where they see Bitcoin going?
Well, I think the institutions right now, this is just the beginning. I mean, you're only hearing of a few small named companies and some that are already in the crypto sphere. You have MicroStrategy. They just bought a huge amount, but he's been a Bitcoin guy talking about it and owned it himself for a while. Square, they own the Cash App, so obviously they're into Bitcoin. And then the interesting ones are when you get the insurance company.
Yeah, Mass Mutual.
They're normally a very conservative type of holder that are purchasing Bitcoin. So,
$100 million is a pretty small amount. I'm just joking.
I mean, the fact that some of these things that MicroStrategy, they're at 1.2 billion, I think, that they purchased.
Oh, really?
Well, they raised like 600 million from like an offering to their clients they got more than what they were expecting. I think they got 700 million. They wanted 6, they got 7 to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are out there, pushing it forward to, make it part of the norm that some people are going to have on their books. Bitcoin is a holding.
Yeah.
So,
hey, It's something that, okay, so we've established the fact that there's always going to be some skepticism based off of the investment world, or dummies like me that are late to adopt, and there's even more and more people that are going to be late to adopt. They missed out on the gains, but they also missed out on some of the heartache. I mean, obviously, if you were getting into it, or you personally got into it in a time frame that was on a downward swing, and so you had to go through some of the pains and cut your teeth a little bit on the pullbacks, and some of them were pretty significant along the way.
Oh, I'll tell you, I had my first buy was in the summer of 2017. It was a small amount.
Mm-hmm.
My first big buy was at 16K.
Okay.
So I'm not a trader. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was like, ooh, buy Bitcoin. It's going to go to a gajillion. It's at 16,000. It just doesn't stop.
That's
it
just
stopped.
Yeah.
And it stopped, right? So from then on, I cut my teeth on, I took every trading course, listened to videos, listened to podcasts. I did all sorts of stuff because I wanted to learn how to not lose all my money. I didn't lose. I lost money. That's a given. But, over the time and the amount of dips and everything that's gone on, it's well then made up for itself after the point in time. So,
well, yeah, and certainly you only lose money when you sell, right? I mean, if you would have held on at 16 and you just would have been like, oh, dang it, I am just screwed right now, and your losses would have been so great, I don't know, let's just theoretically say it pulled back 50% down to 8K from your 16K purchase, and you're just like, I don't know what to do. Do I just cut my losses right now, or do I just continue to hold on to the future with a mindset that, hey, I know that right now I'm going to look like an idiot, but in the future I might look like a genius?
Hindsight always, right? Hindsight's always that way. I wouldn't change what I did at all because the trading side has created a whole new avenue for me to create money, basically. But to know kind of what I'm doing with my investments instead of, and you never know exactly what's going to happen, but at least you can have an idea of where things might go. Yeah. And it gives me an idea of a little bit more security of what I'm doing with my money. It's tried and true. You just buy and hold for sure.
Well, and certainly if somebody were listening or not currently invested into Bitcoin right now, and you advise them, hey, now might be a good time for you to get in. And so they buy in right now, and then they experience a huge pullback. Something that's on an epic scale like what you saw when you first entered, and then it pulled back. I don't know what it finally went down to, maybe
480. It went 82% from the top.
From the top, but from where you purchased it, from where that went down, you probably didn't experience 80% loss. But if you would have held the entire time, and I don't know if you did or not, but if you would have held the entire time, maybe you're down 60, 70% from your entry point to the actual bottom of where it went. It came back, or it provided an exit opportunity for you if you would have held in the future. And similar things can play out for the investor, not the trader. Right. The trader and the investor are two different mindsets. The investor is going to be looking at from right now and saying, you know what, I see the potential of, hey, it can get to, based off the scarcity, based off of the use case, based off of the store value, based off of whatever else, it could get up to, 100K. Well, that's a 3X on what the current price is right now. Well, over 3X.
Right.
That has a lot of value to the investor. The investor, at least from my perspective, would look at it more of, does it do that in a year? Does it do it in 2 years? I'm going to hold it for over a year because I don't want to pay those taxes on those
long-term capital gains. Yeah, it's risk versus reward, right? And I never sold any of my Bitcoin. Where I lost it all was trying to trade those damn altcoins, man. Those were killers. You make one, you buy one, and it goes up 100%. You're like, I'm a genius. And then you buy one, and it goes down 90, and it never recovers. And you're like, that was crazy. But that's where I cut a lot of my teeth on there. And then I got into traditional markets and the trading there. We were exposed to Bitcoin in 2012.
Yep.
That was kind of when we first got exposed to it. I think we bought our first cryptocurrency in that same year.
Yep.
WorldCoin,
that's what we bought.
But then it was, we had a business going. At that time we had like 300 employees, so we were a little busy, and we didn't put the time in to understand the metrics of what these things are. Now that's what I do. I spend the majority of my time researching and understanding what it is I'm putting my money into. So
Well, and it's much more important right now to understand from my perspective as well. It goes back to the trading side. We were certainly investing at that point in time in your traditional American funds or your 401k type of investments and watching those grow at your 7 to 10%. Oh, a good year was 12%. And now looking back at those types of things, it's kind of laughable at what we would accept as overall growth for any time frame during some of the best growth that we've had or that we've seen in our lifetimes for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And so we allowed for that. And similarly, we can look back at what Bitcoin has done over that time frame and be overly critical. But the fact of the matter is that it still has some legs to run in your mindset. In my mindset, it's got a lot of legs to potentially run as an investable option. I will have continued skepticism, as with all holdings that I currently have, on what the long-term value is. If you think that a certain company is going to be around forever, we always get surprises.
Yeah.
Sears, J.C. Penney's. You want to point to any of the big box retail stores right now that are almost completely annihilated? I mean, I was a big fan of Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video. So you can point to those things as being, hey, they're great rocket ship type of things, but you always have to be vigilant whenever you're looking at investable securities or investable coins or investable options for whatever that you have, watching it and having some type of exit plan or exit strategy in your mind.
So in your eyes, what is your exit strategy for? You bought GDLC and BitW. Those were your two.
As with everything, I've got to look at them more long term. So if my horizon was looking at a 2 to 3 year time frame, it's evaluating after that point in time. Immediate purchases, you're always going to see, or I'm always going to see that it can go up or down really quick, and it's happened with almost every selection that I've ever made. And if I get too overly concerned about it one way or the other, that's usually a negative impact long-term holding on it. Case in point would be, GDLC. BitW. Sorry,
the
Bitwise one. That one I purchased at a really good entry point. What I thought was a really good entry point, and then it shot up to 100 and some odd.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I look like a genius, but I didn't sell at that point in time. I would never look to sell at that point in time. It's since rebounded back to almost where my entry point is at with that, and it's one of those things that the initial excitement of it certainly fueled some of that growth. I think long term, it'll continue to rise. I don't generally like to see large growth in a short time frame.
I
like
it's the exact opposite for me, because I get in and I'm expecting a certain number. Like I see where I'm at, and if it gets that number right away, I'm out.
Yeah, and that goes back to mindset. I typically see the rubber band effect of, if it goes up at a large amount in a short time frame, you're going to have it retrace back to rubber band's going to bounce back to almost the original point of where it was, or even further back. And long-term growth or long-term stability of an overall holding is better to have continued growth at a sustainable pace. 100% growth in a day or 200% growth in a day is non-sustainable long-term. You're always going to have that pullback on any of those types of holdings. And so that's where I always look for stuff more for horizon for exit after a year.
You're a long-term guy.
I'm a long-term guy. And so if I was looking at this holding, if I was evaluating Bitcoin at its current price in relation to what I see here, I would say that there is going to be an entry point potential that is more appetizing based off of my mind. But I don't know much about. There's nothing to measure that on. I can't say, well, earnings are going to say this, or stimulus is going to do this, and stimulus might affect Bitcoin certainly, but it's not going to. It's going to be different than if it was a consumer staple. And so that's where the overall reading this for my personal investing purposes, it's more of a trickle in or a DCA in, or just kind of buy and continue to gather.
The DCA is the way to go, because if you're coming in and right now I want to buy Bitcoin. I want to get into Bitcoin. I just don't know when to buy. Well,
Mm-hmm.
buy right now. Buy
Yeah.
right now, but you hold back some of your ammo for a potential dip. I usually, even when I trade, I usually have 3 to 4 entry points when we start to get a pullback, and I'll have 3 to 4 entry points that I'll put buys in, and they might not get hit. I might only get 1 or 2, especially in Bitcoin since October. None of them have hit more than 2. I think I might have got close to 3 entries on one, but they don't go low. They don't go that low, and so I'm only getting like 2 entries on these. So I'm almost wanting to adjust. The moment I adjust it to where I'm going to go only 2, it'll go down to my third or fourth. So I'll probably just keep it where I'm at. I'm just fine. There's no rush to it. But DCA is the same way. Like, however much you feel you want to invest into whatever asset it is, and you're ready to buy
Buy.
it. And then when it goes down, just dollar cost average into it. And then once you're fully vested into it, you're good to go. The other one is when things hit an all-time high and they go through, there's going to be it's going to go. So once it breaks all-time high and you didn't get all your fills in, buy more.
Mm-hmm.
Then fill it. Because
Yeah.
then at that point in time, like, okay, well, we're going up from here. Like there's nothing above it. It's blue sky growth. So.
Yeah. It is something that it's always tough for investors to look at buying stuff at all time highs, at least from my perspective, because I'm always waiting for the pullback. It can't always be green. And what we've seen, it reached what, 34K. You didn't think it would hit above 30K
No.
before the end of the year. It didn't. You were spot on,
Huh.
100% right.
First time for everything.
Yeah, and so, but at the start of the year, you basically, it just continued to just blow right through, and
Oh.
it got up to 34K. What was it, yesterday? Something along those lines, and so
It
it's
was on the second.
on the second. So I don't even know what day it is today. So it's trying to keep track of everything, but you have that reaction to getting up to 34K. Well, yeah, it went all the way down to what, 28 and some change this morning.
I think it's 27 actually. It hit 27,734. This is
So-
on Bitstamp, so depending on what you were actually trading on. I trade on Kraken, but I have the Bitstamp up because it goes long term.
Yeah, and so it goes back to, there's a couple key points I think that are for another little chat session. You did and took the time to teach yourself based off of cutting your teeth about charting, about technicals, about understanding charts, about looking at technicals to become the trader that you wanted to be, the one that wasn't going to necessarily feel like he was an idiot because he lost the money, that he could make the moves that would put you into a position of knowledge, a position of comfort, and to give you that confidence moving forward for your investments. And I think for a future talk is that connecting some of those links of what you did, because I was able to see it from the start of where you were at with just charting and doing the technical stuff of this crypto. You really took it upon yourself to take the classes, online classes, and it was your own self-guided classes more or less on trying to figure out,
Right.
okay, what does this mean? You haven't even, with some of the stuff, we haven't even started breaking out a lot of the different clouds, the different metrics, the MAs, all this stuff that goes to the further levels of technical stuff, because this was a simplistic episode of trying to talk about BTC as an investment, as an introduction, more or
Right.
less, for idiots like, well, not idiots, but just people that haven't really got in at the ground level, more or less. And there's a lot of people out there that did not get in and that are not currently in at the ground level. Now, there's certainly a lot of people that got out that thought that they were geniuses along the way, that would be, Bitcoin billionaires or Bitcoin millionaires a few
Yeah.
times over. And they're always going to live with that scar and that mark in their mind that they made the mistake of not holding on to it to see the overall growth that they could have potentially seen. One thing, but in preparation for this, I wanted to kind of look back, and it's always fun to look back for me. I know sometimes you do it. I look back as an indicator of, okay, what would I have missed out on, or what could I have missed out on if I didn't hold? And if somebody would have just put in $500 back when it first came out on July 17th of 2010, been an initial person, put it in a hard wallet, kept their keys, been able to remember all the stuff and being able to store it in that place, you'd be looking at taking that $500 and turning it would have grown to 323 million $167,000 in that just over 10-year time frame. An annualized return of 358%, which those types of numbers are extraordinary. And it's something that for me, looking back on it, and certainly on the charts that you have pulled up here, I don't know that it goes all the way back to 2010.
No, Bitstamp, it goes the furthest back that you're going to get. So, I mean, even if you bought at the low of Bitstamp to where it's currently at now, that's a big number.
That is a big number.
How many zeros in there? That's a 13 million%. That's a lot.
That's quite significant.
But, I mean, really, those people that bought down, I mean, I've heard lots of podcasts of these guys that were in it, from the beginning, or, not even beginning, like 2013, maybe 14, which is, I guess, the beginning. And they sold, because they're up so much and they sell, and they're like, oh, I'm a genius. I made 1,000% on this. And then they sold. And, some of them didn't get back in. Some of them changed their direction. Some, they FOMO'd back in at another time. And, it's the cycle of any market I think you look at. I think you can look at, the S&P, the NASDAQ. You can look at the Dow. You can look at all your indices that have, Amazon's a great one, right?
Yep.
Rise to this great occasion. People sell. People get in late, and they go through this entire cycle, and it's a psychological cycle. I think that's what really entices me about trading itself, because it's really psychological, and when you really get into it, you can see why it's that way, and it's kind of fun. I enjoy it. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
Oh, yeah, and I think coming up here with another show or two, we'll be able to outline kind of what you've done, kind of pointing some people in a direction that would give them some basis and understanding and knowledge to be able to talk intelligently about trading in the future, moving forward, and taking hold of what they have. For an investor like myself, looking at the stuff here, I think allocation and putting some sort of allocation towards investable, an investable security or investable holding like Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency for long-term holding potential, putting a portion aside that you would typically allocate towards some type of investment does have some value in moving long-term holding. If you can hold on, you can make it work out. If you can't hold on, make it work out still. Don't sell for a loss, sell for your gains. You don't want to ever sell for a loss. That's for certain. So that's how you lose money, is when you sell for a loss,
Hey, I disagree with that statement 100%, because I'm in the boat of cut your losses, take that money, put it somewhere else. So, and I've done it many a times and it's worked out well. I've done it on the bad side though, too. I've learned from that I've held on so long, and it's like 90% down, and then I cut my losses and then it goes up. So I've done both. I set stop losses, because I know if it's going down to a certain point, I don't want to be in there and hold on to that thing, because that asset or whatever I'm invested in, how long is it going to be down? It's not going to make me any money when it's down. So if I lose 10, 15% on that, I can take the rest of that and put it into something else that's hopefully going to make me money. That's a short-term trader mindset. That's not a long-term trader mindset. So,
yep. And each one of them has their own value. I think you can point to comparisons across the board of, it goes back to more of an initial mindset of how involved are you going to be in the day trading mindset that it would take to be disciplined, like what you're talking about. Are people disciplined enough to be able to know and read the charts and understand what the future markets are going to hold, and have that experience to be able to say, hey, 7 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times when I see this pattern or when I see this chart do this, it's going to respond this way for me positively. Now, there's always those outliers, the 3 out of 10 or the 1 out of 10 that's going to react negatively. And there's certainly going to be, in the case of holding on for stuff too long, there's going to be those cases where it goes right out of business, CHK. And so yes, there's certainly aspects to each side that can be useful, but it's why you spread out the risk, I think, a little bit as well, too, to have not necessarily all your eggs in one basket, more or less, or being able to have the exit points if you do have your eggs in one basket.
When you posted, on the Discord that CHK was going to be your pick. I forgot I had gone out of business. I'm like, no, he's not. Hasn't he been hurt enough by CHK? I was dying. I'm like, what's he seeing? And then I had to look it up. Oh yeah, it went out of business. That's right.
Yep, that was a good little run there for everybody. So,
hey, I promised some people some predictions, so we need to do some predictions.
All right,
you got time?
Yep, got time. What do we got? What are we looking at? Are we looking at
we got 3, or sorry, we got 4. We're gonna start with BTC because we've been talking this show about BTC, which is great.
Yep.
Well, so
are you basing your predictions on what it's going to be come the start of 2022, or are you basing on what it's going to get up to at some point in time in 2021? Because I know for you they're two different mindsets, because I've tracked your predictions for like it'll reach this by such and such a date. Versus
short term, I'm great. Long term, I suck.
Short term, you're almost spot on. It's been proven I don't know how many times, and so
I'm gonna do this as I think we hit a certain point throughout the year,
okay,
not on a certain date down the road. Because
perfect.
If I could do that, I would be.
You're pretty dang close. So
but not long term. Like short term, I can do some stuff. Short terms for sure. So
yeah, short term, I think you've got this. You're like Nostradamus.
But the only thing with Bitcoin I'm going to do is, and this is if it's any long term, I do the same thing. I'm looking at cycles. I'm looking at fib levels. I'm looking at some confluence depending on what's going to happen, and that's all I'm going to do here. The same thing. So I mean, you have your little dips in the cycle. You have this green channel that is going upwards, which is good. So I kind of have the channel going through here, but then I basically just copied this light green is the last bull run once we passed, and this is an all-time high when you look at on a yearly chart. Both these white lines.
Mm-hmm.
That's the close of the yearly, I should say, going into the next one. And so if you look at it, I just copied this and pasted it here. Mm-hmm. So looking at it run, I don't trade that, but when you look at that, it would follow the same pattern as it has in the past. It also, when you look at the stock to flow, I think it followed almost that exact same pattern as well, of rising above, and coming sometime in late 2021. That's in the midpoint. That I think mine was at 330, 360.
Yep.
Right. Okay. This if this is going to come into the midpoint of this little box here, it's going to be right at 400 grand. That's a lot.
That is a significant amount from where we're currently at. Yes.
I think there's another one that we could look at. Logarithmic growth curves.
Yeah.
And so this is constantly moving as well. But if it were today to go up here, it would hit 100 grand. So this logarithmic chart here is going to change as well as it goes through. So this one, as we move through the year, as it continues to go up, could point to the fact that we're going to hit that 300 grand as well. That's a lot. And I know it's a lot.
Yes.
And basically it's saying it's going to 10x this year. That's a lot. I know it's a lot, but I'm going to call it right now. I think it's going to 10x this year.
At some point in time in the year 2021, it will be.
We're going to 10x it. Bitcoin's going to 10x at some point in time.
Okay, and it's going to be 300K.
Sure.
I mean, if it's 299, it doesn't count. So
if it's half that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think everybody is. So, based off of that prediction, as somebody that is listening here is not currently exposed to BTC, would be unwise not to have some exposure.
Hey, look, this is a podcast that we are just giving predictions. We're not telling you to buy anything at all. We're not telling you to get exposure. And, you heard the investor deal in the beginning. Like, look, we're just spouting stuff out here. This is all for educational purposes only. You do as you will with your own money.
I could definitely see that it would continue a run up. I don't necessarily think I'm as bullish, obviously, but I would say that as we're looking at for BTC, I think we could easily see 64K, and that's just based off of a general feel of how hot it's getting right now versus where it could go in the near to midterm future. I think if anybody was looking, looking backwards, they could see that this type of growth is definitely possible in a short-term time frame based off of hype, excitement. But especially when you throw in overall institutional involvement, you would see that would carry the pricing upward in an upward trajectory as more and more people hold, the supply diminishes. I do not picture that institutions are going to buy and trade.
I agree.
And I don't think that those people that are long-term or long-term holders currently are going to be looking to exit in mass in the near the 1 to 2 year time frame. I would venture to say. So I think you're looking at probably some price security in that 1 to 2 year time frame that's going to provide. There's going to be pullbacks. There's going to be those pops, but I would say a safe estimate 64K by the end of the year.
Okay. I definitely think we hit 6 digits. We're gonna hit. I mean, I'm betting a lot of money on it already, but I definitely think we hit 6 digits for sure. But the fun one is going to be the 300,000 where the magic charts go to. But you know what? Things change. It shows it, but who knows? I mean, that with the same type of thing with ETH here, you can throw some random stuff up here with a pitchfork. Some people love the pitchfork. So if we were to hit the median line, which a lot of people, when they trade the pitchfork or they use the pitchfork on there, is, the price tends to move back towards the median line. And if we were to median line it at the end of the year, that would be, $199,000 for ETH, or a, what's that? 20,000, 19,000%. So that's 20xer.
That's quite significant. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. Honestly, but I think if we see a similar, or if we see Bitcoin increase at that 6-digit rate, I definitely think we're going to see ETH's going to hit 10K. I have it on here at 31. I think that's possible too with a giant candle at the end. So just kind of like the blow off we had last time, which part of me doesn't think that we're going to do that like we did last time either, because of the institutions. I don't think we see that giant blow off, and I think that's what we're seeing now with these quick buy-ups in Bitcoin. It's only dropping 10-15%. When everybody's thinking, oh, we need our 30% drop, we're not getting it because the institutions they're just buying it up as it is. So I also don't think we're going to see this giant run up and this giant blow off top because of that, because they're holding long term. That this cycle, which has been a 4-year cycle, is going to be extended, and it's going to mess a lot of people up. But something to watch for.
Yeah, definitely. What was the high for ETH there back in? What was it,
1594, so it's almost 1600.
So it's still, what, 50% or
50% below it.
Yeah.
Which it just went up 50% last week. So, I mean, that's a lot. But I think the way ETH is going right now, it'll hit its all-time high pretty quick. The thing that a lot of people want to see is Bitcoin kind of go sideways, because when Bitcoin goes sideways, that's when a lot of your alts start to pop off and they start to go up. And with the amount of money that starts flowing around, you see some big jumps. I mean, I posted Galacoin in the Discord, and like literally the next day, it was up almost a 10x.
Yeah.
It has such low liquidity. There's these low cap coins. You can't put a lot of money into those to actually get it out. But they got some big things going, and it's still hovering around, a 4x from when I posted it, and it's looking decent. But
I definitely think that there's room for ETH to continue to rise up. It used to be kind of the guide back when we were initially looking at what it was doing. It seemed like that was trailing what BTC was doing pretty consistently, following similar patterns to what BTC was doing. So
yeah,
I would definitely see that continue to climb.
So we pulled up the S&P here. Again, I'm just looking at I put it on the monthly chart so we can get out to 2021 here. And this median line that you can see here on this pitchfork that goes, as you saw, it goes all the way back to basically the beginning of the S&P. So if we look at getting to the pitchfork, and throughout the year here, that's some decent growth. Do we go above it like we have in the past and come back down to it? Why not? We got some nice fib levels up here, 1618. That's a great fib level. That would put us at a 6,300 for the S&P, which would give us about 60% growth.
I mean, it pales in comparison to what you could potentially have in the in the crypto world. I don't know that we necessarily see that happen here within the next year.
It's hard to say that that's going to happen, right?
I mean, there's a lot of factors that still have to be calculated into that. I mean, obviously, we're talking on a Monday before an election that's going to potentially determine what the overall flow of the Senate is.
Sleepy Joe has to come through.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of moving pieces right now, and still this rebuild time frame and potential future scare time frame that has to deal with this COVID to be able to say. It seems that the general markets are influenced a lot more than what you would see in the crypto world. So I would definitely be more reserved on what my predictions would be for the S&P. I would probably put it more in the 44,
which is crazy. You're saying conservative in 40%.
44.
Oh, 4,400. I thought you were going to start saying 44%.
No, 4,400. I would like to see it in that.
Even that though, like in any given year, and you start talking about the S&P is going to go up 18%, 15%. I mean, that's just, ridiculous. But we're in a different we're in a different world right now. And that's one of the reasons why I think we have some explosive growth in your, risk on assets, because the dollar's getting devalued, and so your risk on assets they're gonna go up, and they're gonna go up violently. We saw it this year, obviously. If we get a blue wave and the Democrats do what they want to do, there's a potential of a lot more money coming in. Joe Biden said that was a down payment. $900 billion is a down payment. Well, down payments are usually 10 to 15%, right? 20%.
That's pretty significant.
That's a lot of money coming in. And when you get that money coming in, it reminds me, this is my favorite one. I'm going to go to the NASDAQ here. I charted this a long time ago. And I was looking at it, and, with the money that came in, this whole pattern reminded me of the dot-com boom. Well, what happened in the dot-com boom? We had a ton of money coming into these companies that a lot of them, ended up being absolutely nothing. But there was a crap ton of money that was inflowing to these stocks and to these companies, and we saw a giant inflation from this consolidation that went down, a huge drop, and it just exploded through. Similar pattern they went on here, but we have tons of money that's getting pushed into these companies, whether it be indirectly with a stock buy or directly with a buyout or a bailout type of situation. So maybe we have the same type of thing. That would be ungodly and ridiculous. But
that short-term run-up at the end of 2022, or
you map that same thing out, though. Map that same thing out. I don't trade this. This is just fun stuff that's going on here. That'd be pretty ridiculous.
I would continue to say that we probably see that. I'd put it at the high end, about a 16K mark for the NASDAQ off of where we're currently at. I think that is possible. But I don't know what the I don't know. That's just what I would base off my thoughts would be about a 16K at the high point at some point in time this year.
I think it's ridiculous that we say that that's conservative. But I agree. I fully agree with you. Conservatively, it's like with the amount of money that's inflowing into these things that we see some massive growth.
Yeah, especially when you talk about it, once we get released back into the wild, the further implementation of people being able to move about freely, it's going to have all this pent-up demand of everybody just ready to go wild and free. I think with the original 900, or with all the stimulus so far and their projections for this upcoming year, GDP being in that 6% range, and with the 900 billion increasing it by 1%, it's going to significantly be impacted higher, additional stimulus that's out there, potential stimulus that's out there. So certainly, I think we have a year that's projected for growth. It's something that that I'd love for us to be able to see and capitalize on. As people within our group, individually amongst everybody. So
cool, man.
Stopping point for now?
I think it's good. I think we got a lot of stuff that we want to cover and work on down the road, but hope you guys enjoyed it. And you know what? Leave us a like and comment and let us know what we're doing right and wrong. Appreciate it. Bye.